And
Hey.
we should be live. As long as everything is going right today, we should
Oh,
be live.
oh, that's fine. Good morning.
Yeah, hello, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Um, Becky says she doesn't see it. Let me just make sure it actually is on YouTube. Hmm. Strange. Let me see if it's. Yeah, it's going. Let me see if I can find the link. Hmm. Well, we are live,
Cool.
so it's going. Oh, did I make it public? Let's see if I can send this out real quick.
Okay, that's fine. I wonder if I'm echoey today.
We'll find out when people can watch this.
Yeah.
Hopefully, that can bring some people in.
Definitely. Hope so.
We have one person watching. All right, we got somebody on.
Oh, good morning, whoever this is.
Today's the 24th, right?
It is. Yesterday was my nephew's birthday. Obviously can't see him right now. So we all went on video chat and we watched him open presents and we sang happy birthday to him and he turned 2. So it was really cute.
Oh, that's
He was just so
adorable.
excited about everything.
That's adorable.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know, he was going nuts. Also, he loves his new baby sister a lot. And I mean, he doesn't say her name, but he just keeps saying, baby, baby, baby.
So
hmm
Becky says that this is going to a video from 2014.
2014.
Interesting. Yeah.
I was still in college.
As was I. Is Alex still home today?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yes, he
we're
took
live now.
today off
Okay, it's working.
just to help. Oh, hello.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but it's working now.
Oh, no, you're fine.
Awesome. Just took a little bit for it to
Okay.
process and get going and whatnot. So I guess we'll give people a minute for them to log on. We're sending out the link now.
I am still echoing.
I'll turn your volume down a little bit more, see if that helps. Anyway, I'm glad that you had a really good time with your brother or your nephew. Sorry. And I know you can't
via video chat.
Yes, and I know you can't see it, Christina, but Karen is here with us today.
I have nothing fun to share over here.
You're still echoey a little bit, but hopefully we can keep adjusting it until it's correct.
That's fine.
Let's see if I can go on to here.
Oh, I do want to say I practiced some self-care last night.
What'd you do?
I did a nice I like washed my face. I did this like sheet mask that I had that I've been like meaning to use and like read up on Westworld theories online while I had the sheet mask on. Then I just did the rest of my routine and then I went to bed and it was great.
Because what else do you do other than read up on theories? So I'm going to bring this back to Brene Brown again because it always goes back to Brene Brown. But the entire way that she like started her whole Daring Greatly was she was a Downton Abbey watcher and she was super depressed after her first video was so successful because of the fame and she didn't want the fame. So she ended up watching an entire season of Downton Inside the Dark, and then she Googled where is the castle and how old is the castle and all these random facts about the castle in Downton.
Interesting.
And Becky says no spoilers about Westworld. All right, so we are live. We have 9 people watching. Hi, Haley and Kendra. All right, so it seems like we're good to go now. Sorry for the little bit of a delay there, everybody. It's a weird thing. So we have our cups. Life is better with what? Cats?
Yeah, my sister made this for me. She has a Cricut machine, so she made this for me, I think, either over Christmas or my previous birthday, not this past one.
That's cute. Mm-hmm. Mine is just Harry Potter.
Good stuff.
I mean, better than cats, but so really interesting. In my Harry Potter chat yesterday, there's like 400 of us, and we sorted all of us into houses and made like house channels that we could talk on. So there's a Hufflepuff channel and a Slytherin channel and whatnot. And only the Hufflepuffs and Slytherins have talked. The Ravenclaws and Gryffindors have not talked. But the Slytherin channel, the first like 5 comments are really ominous and kind of mean. And then the Hufflepuff ones, the first comments are like, we love everybody, you're all beautiful people. And it was just a really interesting difference to watch the 2 types of houses interact with each other. But talking about interacting with each other, that brings up today's, communication. So we are going to be talking about communication today and how to communicate effectively in general, but then also with your teachers, with Upward Bound staff, and with anybody else that you may need to communicate with, considering we're in the middle of this time when you can't really communicate with people in the way that we're used to. So this is a really good opportunity for you all to learn exactly how to do this, and we're going to give you all strategies.
Correct. What do you think is the first step for communication?
So there's, I'm going to bring it back to this. There's a really wonderful TED Talk, and it's called 10 Ways to Have an Effective Conversation. And the woman who gives the TED Talk, her name is Celeste somebody, I don't remember her last name. And she gives 10 tips on how to effectively communicate with somebody else. It's really wonderful, and it's better than anything you or I could do because she is humorous and she just speaks so eloquently. And then you have us and Karen, who just does not.
I'm funny.
I know. But so essentially what this all boils down to is make sure, and everything she says, is to make sure that you're as clear and concise as possible when communicating, and that you're listening to people who are talking or emailing to you. Those are like the 2 big things. Clear messaging and then listening. So those are the 2 things that are kind of going to like weave throughout what we're going to talk about today as we give you other tips and strategies to effective communication.
Yeah, that's what I was actually going to bring up was the active listening bit. So I haven't seen that TED Talk, but I would like to see it later. I think it'd be a good idea to share it. If you can send it to me, yes. I'll add it to my infographic. So one of the big things that you have to do is listen. You can't really communicate with someone else and have an effective communication where one person's message is getting to the other person if the other person isn't listening. And if that person isn't listening, then they're not going to be able to effectively communicate to the other person. Mm-hmm. But I think that a lot of us don't always effectively listen to others because we're often just trying to like formulate what we're going to say next instead of like listening to someone else, reflecting on what they're saying in our heads, and then responding. So what are some listening tips that you have, Sammy?
So some listening tips I have would just be number one, be fully engaged with whoever you're talking to. You shouldn't be thinking about what you're going to have for dinner later. You shouldn't be thinking about what you did yesterday or what you're going to do later today. If you're having a conversation with somebody, be present in that conversation. Um, and this is something that Celeste talks about in her video, and I think it's the most important one, is just to be present. And something that she says is we have habits as humans to nod and every like minute or two say yes or acknowledge that you're listening or something like that. And Celeste says that there's no reason to show that you're listening if you are in fact listening. So make sure
Interesting.
yeah, like if you're actually engaged, you are going to be having actual conversation back and forth rather than having to nod and say yes and okay all the time to show that you're actually listening. It's really hard to do that, to like train yourself to do that, but eventually you can get to that point. So be present, be in that moment. That person is giving you all of their attention, so you should be giving them all of your attention. It should not be a one-way street when you're having a conversation, whether that's on email, instant messenger, web chatting, like through a camera, in person. It doesn't matter. Be fully present. Like I have my phone in case like somebody from work calls, but I'm not on my phone right now, and neither are you. We're both engaged with each other, and that's how the conversation needs to be the entire time.
Right. My family's having a chat via Messenger, and that's why my phone's like across the room. So I'm not even tempted to look. I was like, I have a call this morning, so just so you know.
So you
Yeah.
bring up a really good point, though, Messenger. So there's a lot of families. So a lot of times when you get older, your family moves far away. I have a sister who lives in Georgia, and the rest of my family is here. My cousins live between Buffalo and Rochester. Christina, your family lives between here, Buffalo, and Pennsylvania. Becky's family lives between multiple states as well. And so, what lots of families do to communicate is they start some kind of group chat, whether it's through Facebook Messenger, through texting, or through some other messaging app. It could be WhatsApp or whatever that is. So, I highly encourage all of you in this time when maybe you can't see people as often as you would like, whether it's family or friends or whatever, start some type of group chat that you can just kind of have going with them all day long. And it can be for important things, it can be for not important things. And this is a great habit to get into for when you all go away to college and you're not around your family all the time. Start the habits now so that when you get to college, they're already solid habits that you're not going to just stop.
Yeah, it'll help reduce homesickness if you move far away. Or even if you don't move far away, but you just move away from your house, from your immediate family. So,
Exactly.
mhm,
Exactly. Um, so I want to pivot a little bit
that's
to
fine.
talking or to communicating over email, since that's probably going to be how most of your communication is going forward with your teacher, other than just submitting stuff on like Google Classroom and stuff like that.
Hmm.
So in terms of communicating effectively with your teacher, um, remember that your teacher probably is going to be getting or probably has somewhere between 80 to 100 students that they need to communicate with and send information to and answer questions from. So, first off, give your teachers some time to respond. It may take them a day or two. They will respond to you. They just have a lot going on right now because, on top of all of the students, they also have coworkers who they need to communicate with. They have administrators that they need to talk to, and they probably have
Hmm.
family that is worried about them and that they're worried about that is trying to contact them all day long as well. So give people time to respond.
Oh, and students' parents as well. So
Yes,
it's not even just students. So take, those 80 students and then add one or two parents or guardians, and they also could be trying to contact the teachers too. So,
exactly. So it takes a lot
mhm.
of time sometimes, so please just be patient. Um, and then what I want to go into next is I want to go into emailing and how to send a proper email. We
Oh,
talked
good.
about we talk about this a little bit over summer program, and some of you are really good at it, and some of you are not so good at it. So we need to really figure out how to make or how to do this properly. So imagine writing an email is kind of similar to writing an essay. You need an intro, you need your body, and then you need a conclusion. But this is way simpler than writing an essay because your intro can just be hello. You don't need to write 3 or 4 sentences that lay out a thesis. You just have to say hello. You don't want to jump right into the meat of whatever you're talking about. You want to give some kind of introduction. It's just what is considered formal and best practice. And then similarly, yes, it is. And then similarly, you also want to sign your email in some kind of way. You can just say thank you and then your name. You can just put your name. You can say like sincerely and then your name. It doesn't matter. And if you want to put your cell phone number down beneath that, if you're talking to like one of us and you want one of us to call you or something, you can put that as a signature as well on your email. But the intro and the conclusion are just very short. Hello and sincerely with your name. You don't have to go over the top. But they're very important to, number one, tell people that you're done with the email. That's why the signature is so important. And number two, to hold up that level of politeness and decorum that your teachers and professors, when you get to college, will expect from you. And this is a good practice to get into for when you're applying to jobs and you need to contact hiring managers and stuff like that. Be polite, show that you are mature, and show that you understand how communication works. That will speak volumes to them wanting to hire you. You want to talk about like the middle part a little bit?
Oh, for sure.
Or anything you want to add to what I said?
Oh, I just want to add a little bit to what you said about with the professors and everything. As someone who is friends with professors, either the ones I had in undergraduate or the ones that are, friends of mine from college who are now in graduate school and teaching classes, that's a huge pet peeve of theirs, is if they do not receive like some type of like, hello, dear so and so, like it's off-putting, because it's like if you were to go up to someone in real life
Right?
and instead of like saying hello and shaking their hand, you just like started shouting at them of like what you need and what you want.
Exactly.
So yeah. For the middle of the paragraph, or not paragraph, for the middle of your email, after you've given your introduction, I know that I personally just like to either, if it's someone I don't know, which, it's like if I don't have a good relationship with them, I often like will wish them well or whatever. But if it's someone that I do know, I just try to immediately get to my point and say like why I'm writing to
Mm-hmm.
them and like what questions I have or what do I need. And then I will then explain after that more in depth of my question or my concern. But it's really about being concise and succinct, because like Sammy said, your teachers are getting so many emails and professors get so many emails, and then pretty much any working professional just gets a lot of emails. So they don't get to spend as much time on responding as you think, or as much time reading it. So it's just important to be as to the point with your communication.
Exactly. And I think one thing that you're talking about is staying out of the weeds. If you have a question about an assignment or you need clarification or whatever, you don't need to say like, in September I joined your class because I really wanted to learn about how biology works, and then in October we did this really cool project and I understood it. You just need to say, this is the thing I'm working on currently. I don't understand what this means. Can you explain it? Stay out of the weeds. You don't need to go back through all this stuff. You don't need to give this incredibly long explanation. And if you aren't sure how to word something like that, contact any of the advisors, and we will all gladly work through it with you, and help you to write that. I know I've helped a lot of my students, with like college letters asking for financial aid or asking for an appeal for financial aid, um, asking for information about their acceptance letters or contacting a coach for wrestling or anything like that. And I've kind of written that for them. And then we've talked about why this is or why this is set up the way it is, how it looks the way it does, and discussed how they could write that next time. So we are more than willing to help you with that.
Yeah, definitely. I even though this isn't email etiquette, I've also sat in the room with some of my students as they made cold calls, which are calls to people they don't know in order to get something that they need. So if they've had to call admissions or financial aid, I've like sat in the corner and sort of helped like guide them through the process of making a cold
Mhm.
call to get what they need. So this is something that like we're used to. We don't mind giving advice on. Like definitely reach out to us about it.
And having, oh,
Um
go ahead.
no, you go ahead. It's hard because since I can't see you
Oh no, I
or
know. Yeah.
myself, so something I like when so I have a hard time not seeing like the nonverbal cues of when you're done speaking.
Ah, gotcha, gotcha. Um,
Hmm.
so something I wanted to say in addition to the cold calls is when you all become adults, you're gonna have to call people on your own, to set up appointments, to ask questions about taxes or your health care or anything else. And so while it may be very scary to call a college and ask a question about financial aid or classes or advising or whatever it is, this is really great practice for when you're an adult. I know that some of us in the office don't always like calling places, and we avoid it. And I know lots of adults in general that just avoid calling places because they don't want to. Christina's pointing at herself. Um, and it is scary, but it's something you need to train yourself to get over. So the more you can do it, I think the better off you're going to be. So the more you can do it now, the better off. And the good thing about colleges is the people you're going to be calling, the most of the people that they work with and that they take these calls from are high school seniors or are college freshmen. So they're already students your age. So these professionals know how to talk to you all, and they're very easy to talk to, and they're very nice. So this is really the ideal time to start training that. Becky says she feels attacked. I wasn't thinking about you at all when I was saying that, Becky.
Oh no, I think Becky's really great at making cold calls actually. Like, and not that I necessarily listen to her make cold calls, but I always feel like she has a better sense of grace than I do because I think she's been doing it more than I have for a while. Just avoided it for so long. And then, in my, not this position, but my previous one and this one, I sort of had to get over that hump and just be like, all right, I'm calling people I don't know. I have to introduce myself every time. I got to have my spiel ready.
So, what you just said actually is really important. You have to introduce yourself every time.
Hmm.
I cannot tell you how angry it
Oh my
makes me
gosh,
when
yeah.
people call and they're like, "Is this Sam?" And I'm just like, "Who is this?" Don't start talking until you introduce who you are. Imagine if a stranger calls you and they're like, "Hi, did you order this thing from Walmart on this credit card?" Are you just going to say, "Yes, I did," and tell a stranger that? No. Make sure that people, number one, when they call you, that you ask who this is before you give away any kind of personal information. And number two, make it a best practice that you say who you are. And if you're calling with an organization, like when we do with Upward Bound, we say, "Hi, this is Sammy DeSalvo with Upward Bound, blah, 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 blah." And then you say whatever you want to say. So always identify yourself. That's email or
I
phone.
even
Good.
Yes, I do that with the parents still, even if I've talked to them multiple times on the phone,
Right?
just in case I don't know if they have my phone number in their cell phones, or if it's on their landline, they're not going to know it's me. So I always say, "Hi, this is Christina from Upward Bound, blah blah blah."
Mhm.
And if it's someone I don't know, I still do the same thing. "Hi, this is Christina from Upward Bound, and I'm looking for so and so."
Exactly. People are going to be much more comfortable answering your questions or doing whatever you need to do if you identify yourself. And also, when you call like a college, for example, and you're asking about your financial aid award, or you're asking to hear whether they made a decision or whatnot, if you say, "Hi, have you made a decision about me?" They have no idea who you are, and they get like 10,000 applications a year. So you need to say, "My name is so and so. Have you made a decision?" You can't just expect them to,
Full
yes,
name.
full name, first and last, and don't use nicknames. Like, if your name is like Theodore, don't use Ted or something. Say Theodore Roosevelt if that is your name and that's who you're inquiring about. And also, when you call, have
Hmm.
readily available any information that they have sent you up to this point. So if they've sent you a letter and they've said like your admission counselor is David, make sure when you call you say, "Hi, this is Sam DeSalvo. I'm calling about my decision or about your decision whether to accept me. My admission counselor is David. Can you connect me to him?" Just give them as much information as possible so that they have a place to start at. Go ahead.
Yes, I agree. I was gonna say voicemails are a big deal too. It's really important that when you leave a voicemail, say you call an organization, you call a college, you
Us
call
for one of our
a
RSVPs.
play, like you just call like an employee. When you call us for RSVPs, yes, perfect. You have to say, "Hi, this is full name here. I am RSVPing for insert event here."
Exactly.
Because sometimes we just get a voicemail saying like, "Hey, we're coming," and we're like, "Who?"
Who for what
To
event?
what?
Where's the pickup? Give us all the information when you're leaving a voicemail. Like we've had voicemails
Yeah.
before where people are just like, "Is it on?" And then they just kind of talk to somebody in the background and they never actually leave us messages. And it's happened multiple times. So please leave your name and your number to call us back, what you're RSVPing for, your pickup location, anything else that we may need to know. I mean, and that does go for our
Hmm.
events or for non-upward bound events. And a tip is at the end of voicemail. So always introduce yourself at the beginning and say, like, "Hi, this is Sam DeSalvo." And then at the end of the voicemail, you usually leave your number just in case, for whatever reason, they cannot access the number that you called from. So I would say, "This is my cell phone number." And then I would say, "Again, this is Sam DeSalvo with Upward Bound. And my number is," I repeat my name and I repeat my number twice because sometimes people like start grabbing a pen and paper during the first number, and they need to hear it the second time because that's when they're actually ready to take down note on whatever you left. So leaving that information twice is helpful. Don't repeat the entire message twice, but you can leave your number twice, and people will be very happy that they won't have to listen to your voicemail a second time. Becky says that she doesn't know who
Yeah.
"Hi, it's
And
me" is.
try to not speak too fast with your phone number.
Yes, yes. Sometimes people rush, and I think that's just a life lesson: is not to speak too fast ever. uh, People need to be able to understand you, so whether you're having a conversation, whether you're doing a live stream, whether you're leaving a message on a voicemail, or you're giving a presentation in school, or whatever you're doing, try to slow yourself down. It is really difficult to train yourself to do that, but it will make people who need to listen to you, it'll make their life a whole lot easier.
I have a piece of advice I would like to
Go ahead.
add. So, if you are leaving a voicemail, or you're doing a cold call for the first time and you're very scared, my advice is to have a note on your screen
Mm.
or somewhere in front of you with sort of the gist of what you're going to say, where you say, "Hi, my name is blah, blah, blah. I'm from blah, blah, blah." And then the next point, and then whatever else you need to include, and then, finish it out. It's very helpful for voicemails when you're not used to like leaving them for people.
Exactly. An example is a lot of times we need to call parents when we're doing student applications, and parents don't always, pick up or respond. And we may be calling 5 parents in an afternoon to set up appointments for later on for recruitment. And when I'm doing that, I always have my calendar in front of me, and then I have the parent's name and the parent's number and the student's name all laid out in front of me, because it's just random things that you may not think that you're going to forget, but in those moments you forget it completely. So that is wonderful advice, Christina.
Oh, thank you. I think besides accidentally forgetting someone's name, also sometimes you have to give a lot of information, and if it's like a voicemail or if you're having a phone conversation where you need to explain like this point, and you don't want to forget everything that you were supposed to talk about or miss things that you were supposed to talk about. So that's why having like a quote unquote outline can be helpful if you're not used to it.
Exactly. Exactly. Also, my tea is gone and I'm very upset.
There was something. Oh, wait, sorry. What were you
My
saying?
tea is gone and I'm very upset. I'll switch to water.
Oh. There's something that I wanted to talk about from earlier that we didn't get to mention regarding email. So I want to circle back if there's anything else, but we can continue the phone conversation if you want to finish that
No,
first.
I think we talked about a lot of good stuff with phone calls. Go ahead and talk about emails.
Okay. Something that we did not mention when it came to emails is making sure that you have a subject line when
Yes.
you are sending an email. So oftentimes I receive emails from students, and this isn't calling out anyone in particular because it happens to, I think, all of them, um, where they send me an email and there's like no subject in it. So I have no idea what I'm expecting in the email. And it's really hard if I need to go back and refer to the conversation. Like something that you do in email is that you're able to search through your inbox and see who sent what when or what specific subject. So if you have a subject line that's pertinent to what you're asking about or what you're commenting about, it makes it really easier for the person who's receiving it to be able to anticipate what's going to be in the message as well as refer back to it later on.
That is very good advice. And again, it just goes back to being as concise as possible and giving as much information as possible. Don't make people guess. How angry
Hmm.
do you get when somebody's like, do you remember that thing? And it's gonna happen like next Tuesday. And you're like, what thing, what's happening, what time, where? And people make you guess all the answers. It is annoying.
Hmm.
Don't make people guess. Give us subject lines, put the topic that you're going to talk about as soon as you can inside the body of your email. Bring it all up as soon as possible.
Right. And even when you are receiving, or like, even though you're sending it, so something that was really helpful for me, the fact that I'd always write, like, when I was applying to jobs, like, application for this position. And, when you are applying for jobs, you're sending out lots of applications. So if you are sending it via email, knowing that what subject lines you wrote down also makes it easier for you to refer back to if you need to follow up with someone. Say you haven't received information from them in like a week or a couple weeks, not necessarily for a job, but in general, you need to follow up with them, but you don't remember their email. If you remember your subject line, that's way easier to type into your inbox search and find that person so you can follow up with them.
Exactly.
So it's a tool that's used for both people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Very good advice.
Hmm.
So I don't want to keep you all for. Oh,
Thank you.
so I don't want to keep you all for too much longer because it's been about a half hour. But the last thing I want to talk about is communicating over blogs and whatever online system that your school may be using, most likely Google Classroom. So Christina is currently in an online class, so I would like for her to talk about this a little bit and just what communication looks like using an online platform. I know that you may be using Blackboard or something other than Google Classroom, but they all function very similarly. So can you just talk about that?
Yeah, no, that's thank you for asking. So primarily we use Blackboard, which is an online system that functions like Google Classroom. I'm not going to go into the differences, it doesn't really matter at this point. But in my classroom online, it has all of my information each week of what I need to do and what assignments and if there's links to other information I need, et cetera, et cetera. When I need to contact a professor, there's a couple of ways that I do that. So one is through email, which they prefer that I use my grad school email, not my personal email. So I always make sure that I go into my grad school email and contact a professor through there as opposed to my work email or my personal email. And when I contact a professor, I always make sure I have a subject line that's pertinent to whatever I need. I give them a greeting, I give them what I need in the body, and I conclude it. If I am not contacting the professor via email, some of them prefer that I ask the question directly in discussion boards because some professors or teachers think that if you have a question, then probably the rest of your class has a question as well. So I know that yesterday I actually used the discussion board to contact one of my professors because a discussion board that I need to access was not open. So I went into the question discussion board area and I put my question out there because probably the professor just doesn't know that he didn't change the permission settings yet. And maybe other students are trying, they're confused about this as well. Or if it's not an issue with other students, then maybe it's something that's an issue on my end. So you really just have to go with what the teacher likes, prefers. When in doubt, if it's a question that's pertinent to the whole topic, I try to include it in the message boards or discussion boards that the class has access to. If it's a question that's more relevant to just me, say I have to explain that I'm sick or I potentially need an extension, which I haven't had to do that, then I just contact the professor directly via email. So you also have to know, your audience and what is relevant in different medium forms. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. With your teachers in Google Classrooms, I'm not sure if there would be a section to ask questions about content. If there is, it's not a bad thing to ask questions because oftentimes your classmates feel unsure or they don't want to feel stupid when they ask a question. But usually everyone has similar questions, and it's important to be brave and ask them so the teacher can, make sense of what you need, and then your classmates will benefit from it. And oftentimes, even if those other classmates don't have that question, sometimes your question sparks a different idea for them, and it helps foster learning in your classroom environment.
Exactly.
So don't be afraid.
I would like you to talk about also the biggest frustration that you find, or that it's from what you've talked about, it seems like the biggest one that you found is people not completing work on time when you need to respond to their work.
Oh my gosh. Oh boy. Yeah, that's a big one. So when you are taking an online course in college,
Or when you are
now
completing work for
formats
high
do
school
differ
online.
for professors. Yes, no, this applies to either. You have deadlines that you have to meet. And oftentimes, you also have to respond to other people's work. So it's not only that you are submitting your own work, but you also have to look at Sammy's work or Becky's work or Andy's work or Lisa's, and you have to make sure that you give substantial commentary on it. So every week for this one class, I have a class of 5 people where I have to write a discussion board post for myself and then comment on 2 people's posts by a specific date and time. And whenever I hit that specific date and time, only one other person has posted. And I get really frustrated because how am I supposed to finish the assignment if I can't comment on more than one person's work? Usually it ends up being that someone posts last minute and I'm able to get the assignment done. But it's definitely a frustration, and it's important to keep in mind that when you have an assignment that involves other people, you need to be respectful of their time as well. I know it's hard to break the procrastination tool, but it's a matter of respect for other people because they have their own lives and their own schedules that they have to deal with. I try to get my work done early because I have, my 9 to 5 work. I have my family to deal with and other things I have to deal with. I'm trying to manage a lot of different things. And when I have classmates who aren't doing their part, it's sort of a sign of disrespect for the learning environment that we're in and then also for our classmates.
Yeah. All that was a very good summary of.
That's my two
No, yeah,
cents.
it was all very good because you've mentioned a lot of that stuff and a lot of those frustrations before, and I think that they're really good lessons. I mean, you're working with
Mhm.
adults, who you would think at this point would understand the importance of doing all of that stuff and how to communicate effectively. And they really don't. So, all of you Upward Bound kids who have the ability to start working on this stuff now, you will be far ahead of your classmates in college and then adults later on in life who don't communicate well and who don't stay on top of stuff. So, it may seem like the stuff that we're talking about is not totally applicable to you or seems like something you don't want to do, but it's very, very important.
It's a soft skill, which is something that you just develop over time as opposed to something that you learn in a classroom. And it's that particular skill that will benefit you in any job. Even if you're working independently, you still have to communicate what you did to someone. You still have to ensure that what you are doing is able to be understood by other people because otherwise your research or your study cannot continue if other people don't understand the purpose and why you're doing it. If you're not communicating with your boss effectively, you're not able to build trust with that supervisor. It's really a skill that applies to any field that you're in. And when people are looking for someone to be hired, they list communication, clear communication, as one of their top skills that they're looking for.
Exactly. That's a very good point to point out as well. Is that
Mhm.
communication is one of the most sought after skills. You need to be able to communicate effectively. Okay, so we've been on for like
Mhm.
45 minutes now, so I want to wrap it up. Is there anything that you want to say to wrap it up or to kind of finish this? I'll give you the floor or the camera.
Oh, no, thank you. The floor. I just want to reinforce that communication is an important skill to consistently develop as you're getting older, not just because it's helpful for the job market or for your field, helps build strong relationships with others, with your friends, your colleagues, family members. It's just a skill that is really useful for anything that you need in life. As a former communication major, I do have that type of bias towards this, but I know that when I deal with people who are bad communicators, it's way more difficult to maintain a friendship with them or work with them or try to plan anything as opposed to someone who has good communication skills. So even if it's something that's an area of difficulty for you, I strongly advocate to just try your best and to work hard and move forward with that.
Very, very
And then
well
Sammy
said.
can go now because I can't I can't see you.
No, you're good. Very well said. I think you kind of said it all. The only thing that I'm going to add on to that is kind of something that you just mentioned and you touched upon, which was everything that we've talked about and these communication skills, being concise, addressing yourself, getting to the point and not like, going through the weeds. These will apply to your job, but also to any future relationships that are romantic relationships, friendships with your parents, any of that. And if you decide to have kids one day, with future children. So work on your communication, become a master at it because it will really improve every area of your life. And with that, I don't have anything else unless you do. No? Let me look real quick to tell y'all what tomorrow's topic. I think tomorrow we'll probably talk about accessibility. And with that, we mean how to make stuff easier accessible online if you need any kind of extra help with online learning. So it'll be a very educational thing tomorrow. But we'll be back at Tia 10 tomorrow morning. Join us then. And join Karen too. And yeah, we'll talk to you all in the morning. See everybody.
All right. Have a good rest of your day.